Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Thank you. Hare Krishna, I think we're having, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I'm terribly sorry. I think I'm having technical problems on my mic. So please forgive me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Comrade Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Prabhupada.
Yeah, can I answer it in Meena Phones?
Yeah.
No.
So it's an absolute honor to be asked
Speaking.
council to MC this memorial festival for my dearest friend and god brother, Harivamsa Prabhu, or as he was affectionately called by many, Hari. Words to describe Hari are vast and many, and perhaps innumerable. Perhaps we can try and attempt by way of recollection of our association and interactions with him to bridge this. He made many devotees feel happy, inspired, empowered, secure, contented, and much more. This he primarily achieved by engaging them in the service of their lordships, Sri Sri Radha Gokulananda, Sri Sri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman, Sri Sri Gaur Nitai, Srila Prabhupada, at his beloved Bhaktivedanta Manor. Having said that, he also made many cry, especially babies whom he would purposefully tease, affectionately pinch, and throw up in the air, all whilst the parents watch anxiously their child's reactions. Hari is an absolute legend always. Personally, I still think, what would Hari say to me in various situations? He and I would sit next door to each other in patron council meetings, for example. He would prod me and tell me not to say anything at times. Or he would prod me and nudge me and demand that I say something rather than him voice it. Other times, we would just snooze. So these are just some of the fun pastimes that I had with my dear friend. There are so many different things to remember, cherish, and take forward as an example from our various associations with such a wonderful Vaishnava that is Harivamsa Prabhu. So in order to begin this memorable and wonderful evening, remembering Harivamsa Prabhu, I'd like to start with inviting His Holiness Jai Advaita Swami Maharaj to talk to us about Harivamsa Prabhu. Hare Krishna. I don't know.
Are we good now?
I don't. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutade Srimate Bhaktivedanta Shaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatani. Vansha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Well, spiritual realization begins with hearing, but my relationship with Harivamsa Prabhu began, of course, with my eyes. He saw me professionally and fixed me up with glasses, but the relationship was never professional. From the beginning, I understood that he wanted to serve, and very much from the heart. When I visited London, long before he was initiated, I would come see him for my regular vision tests and glasses, and he would save frames for me that suited me well. He would save eye medicine pouches that I could use to carry things when I traveled. And after the visit to his shop, he would have me over to his home. And there we would discuss so many things, questions that he had, concerns that he had, just fun things also, so many topics about Krishna consciousness. He would confide in me deeply. And I would do my best to offer my thoughts and advice. And we would joke about taking Vishal and Ujjval traveling with me, sticking Ujjval in a suitcase, perhaps. And of course, Krishna Purna Mataji would cook, and then they would serve me a knockout lunch. Apart from all the Gujarati goodies, once they had a whole box of first-class mangoes, Krishna Purna Mataji will remember. And the mangoes were so good that I was just having one after another. And after that, whenever good mangoes were to be had, Harivamsa and Krishna Purna would always feast me up with mangoes. And though he had his spiritual name, Harivamsa, the name his parents gave him, Hasmukh, was entirely apt. He was always smiling, always jolly, and enjoyed Krishna conscious joking talk. Srila Prabhupada once said that this is the sign of a Krishna conscious person. He said the first sign of a Krishna conscious person is that he's always jolly, Brahmabhuta Prasannatma, joyful. So that was always with Harivamsa Prabhu. Not that he couldn't be serious, but his nature was to be so joyful, so jolly. When my mother passed through London, Harivamsa Prabhu and Krishna Purna hosted her as well, so that my mother has never forgotten their hospitality, the picture of them as wonderful people, wonderful Krishna devotees. I remember the picture of Harivamsa Prabhu dressed up in his Bhaktivedanta Manor traffic director gear. And that picture too was iconic because humble service was the essence of Harivamsa Prabhu's life. Service to the manor, to Radha Gokulananda, to his Guru Maharaj, to Srila Prabhupada, to the devotees, to the guests. Harivamsa Prabhu was just an ideal servant. In the words of Bhagavad Gita, dear to everyone, and everyone dear to him. So we remember him with affection, with love, with fond memories, and with a keen sense of his absence also, and aspire to have his serving spirit also ourselves. There are so many devotees who've come. I looked at the list, just so many, which is testimony in itself. So I'll stop here and leave time for others. Harivamsa Prabhu ki.
Yeah. Maharaj, thank you very much for those wonderful words and memories that you have of Harivamsa. In fact, our dear Guru Maharaj first met him professionally through an eye test. I took him many years ago to Wood Green, so that's how they met. So thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
So now we have a reading from our dear Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj, and a letter that was sent to Krishna Purna. So Rupeshwar Gauranga Prabhu will read this letter out. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. So as Kamesh Krishna Prabhu said, this is a letter by His Holiness Bhakti Swami on the 10th of March 2011. My dear Krishna Purna, please accept my blessings. All glories to Srila Prabhu. I can well imagine how you are feeling. I can well imagine how this sad incident has affected everyone who knew Harivamsa. All this happened so suddenly. At times, I find it difficult to accept this as a reality. When Harivamsa told me that he was going for an operation, I took it for granted that it was a minor operation and he would be back in a couple of days, rectifying his physical difficulty. He also told me that the success rate of that operation is 98%. At that time, he did not seem to be concerned about himself at all. Rather, he was more concerned about you and mostly spoke about your health condition and asked me to speak to you and request you to take care of your health. It is due to his request that I phoned you at that time and asked you to take care of your health. It is such a loss for us all. He meant so much to me. His service attitude was so exemplary and his nature was so affectionate. Whoever he met, he left such a lasting impression. It makes me feel so sad to think that his wonderful association will not be there. I was thinking of writing this letter to console you, but now I can see that I myself have started to express my own anguish. I can see, in spite of all our wisdom, at a time like this, we cannot help but become affected by our own loss. Therefore, I see the need to become truly Krishna conscious by applying our spiritual wisdom. When I received the news from Pranabandhu Prabhu, I was in the airport in Dhaka with a group of devotees. I broke the news to them and started to chant. Very soft and sedate kirtan, and in my mind's eye, I could see that Krishna was leading him to the spiritual side. I felt a great peace within my heart, and I told myself, if that is what he achieved, then I should be the happiest person in this world. However, at the same time, I also reasoned within me whether it is just a fantasy, but then it dawned in me that if a person like Harivamsa has been such an exemplary devotee does not make it back to the spiritual side, then who will ever in the difficulty of this process? He has sure made it back to God. And we are indeed fortunate that somehow or another we are related to him. I was waiting to find out when his memorial ceremony will take place. Now that I got to know, I made my booking. I will arrive in London on 13th morning at 7 a.m. by Emirates. I look forward to seeing you. Yours in the service of Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti. His Holiness Jai, Harivamsa Prabhu Jai, Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, thank you very much for your kind reading. That was a wonderful letter from our Guru Maharaj, and it also reflects what our Guru Maharaj thought of Harivamsa Prabhu. Now, I would like to kindly invite Atmanavadam Swami, His Holiness Atmanavadam Swami, to say a few words for Harivamsa. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj may not be on the line, but perhaps Akandadi Prabhu can kindly say a few words if he's online.
Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo. Thank you, Prabhu. And thank you to the family and all the friends of Harivamsa Prabhu for arranging this wonderful tribute to him. It's shocking to think that it's now 10 years. I think Jayadvaita Maharaj summed up our understanding of this extraordinary Vaishnav, Harivamsa, extraordinary in many ways. And he had the idiosyncrasies of a Vaishnav, but ones that were absolutely endearing. Yes, we all had little children, as you said, Kamlesh, that were terrified of him because of his beard and the pinching. But and my children went through that, but they grew to love him, and of course all the family. I remember Harivamsa's early visits to Bhaktivedanta Manor, and it was clear that here was someone who was deeply sincere to take up Krishna consciousness and to give his heart to it. And some of the discussions we had in those early days were that sometimes he couldn't understand how other devotees might behave amongst themselves. It just didn't seem consistent with what he believed Krishna consciousness could be in terms of the kind of the loving relationships and the unity and the cooperation and the mood of service. Sometimes he would feel frustrated if others didn't seem to share and to be as enthusiastic in all of those aspects that he was. But what I think soon came to pass was that he himself became that inspiration for the other devotees. So many others would witness his enthusiasm for service, for preaching, and for serving the devotees. He was the ISKCON optician to the world, and a great preacher, and so many devotees actually came to Krishna consciousness because of the treatment that he would get, and many more gave donations to serve Krishna consciousness because of the service that they got in the optician's chair. So absolute enthusiasm, and he and Krishna Purna going out as householders, preaching door to door. We owe the growth of the movement through the 80s and into the 90s, from their efforts. They were kind of prime leaders in this. I particularly remember involving Harivamsa during the first meeting we had when the issue of Hartsmere wishing to close the manor camp, the manor came up, and we held a meeting with our closest friends and supporters, and Harivamsa was amongst them, and amongst the leading kind of voices that said, no, whatever we need to do, we will do for this. And of course, he delivered on that through many, many of the events, all the way through to the success of the campaign and beyond. And he enjoyed the growth then of attendance that we had, particularly at the big festivals, and taking responsibility for ensuring that up to 2,000 people per hour could take darshan of Radha Gokulnanda and Sitaram. An amazing achievement on the festivals, that so many people could come through and enjoy their experience, not feel like it was rushed or, difficult, but just that it was an ecstatic experience for them. So I think we'll remember Harivamsa as that devotee, as was said, is a friend to all, and also for whom no one was put into difficulty. He caused no anguish, no difficulty for any of us. It was always a pleasure. And I feel I was very lucky that when I'm in Wales still at Buckland Hall, and we always regarded Harivamsa as Lord Buckland himself, because he was also the most enthusiastic about that project, because he saw the benefits of having a place where devotees could gather to share, to enjoy together, to relax, to hear Krishna consciousness, to sort out any kind of issues amongst themselves. He knew that that had great value. He treasured it for his own family. I treasured it as association with him, Krishna Purna, the boys, and all the others who would gather around him, particularly over the Christmas period. It was, and we were able to continue that tradition, fortunately, for many Christmases until recently, a year ago, when we had to pass on the project, which I'm sure would have hurt his heart. It was a surprise to me when on the Thursday before his operation, he called. A call from Harry wasn't unknown, but usually it was related to service or something coming up. And this time, his mood was different. And he was going into this operation, and he wanted us to think and pray for him and to get the well wishes of the devotees. Something was stirring inside, that he knew that this was not as routine as, as the rest of us, or at least I thought it was. So perhaps there was something that inside was hinting to him that this might be, something more serious. But for all of us still, to have someone who was so full of life, so full of enthusiasm, so full of service, taken away in that circumstance. But as we understand, all of us are in the hands of Krishna. And although there's always more service that we can do, a devotee can't think like that, I need to stay on because there's more service. Actually, we have to be thinking, there's more service I should have done up to this point. And for Harry, there was so much service that he'd done. I was hoping that maybe with that, going into that operation, maybe he would have a little time of convalescence. Maybe that's what would happen, because God love him, he needs a rest. He needs to look after himself. He needs to, recoup energy and from all his incredible efforts. But, Krishna's wish is that he move on. Where he is serving Srila Prabhupada and Krishna now, that is the place that I hope I can aspire to join and to be part of an ISKCON movement with Harivamsa and all the other wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who passed on, and together continue our service to Srila Prabhupada. Harivamsa Prabhu ki jai.
Candidate Prabhu, thank you very much for those recollections. I'm sure that will highlight a lot of things for the devotees who are watching and their own experiences with Harivamsa Prabhu. Thank you. So now I'd like to call Kripa Moya Prabhu and Guru Charana Padma Devi for their recollections. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Harivamsa Prabhu ki jai. The great saint Madhvacharya wrote that you can estimate someone's spiritual strength by seeing not what they are able to do sometimes, on some days, but what they do every day. Bhakti is not assessed by spiritual exertions over a short period, he explained, but by the constant rendering of devotional service. In Vrindavan, India, Srila Prabhupada pointed to a devotee who was bringing water from the river to the temple. He explained that the devotee had been doing this service for many years, since before he left for America. In exchange for this daily service, he told his disciples, Krishna will take this devotee back to the spiritual world. Again, the message is clear. Devotion, practical service over a long period of time, is the sure way to prosper and attain success in spiritual life. Harivamsa became a devotee at a time when it was unfashionable. It was the late 70s and early 80s, when there weren't thousands coming to the temple, impressive programs, or celebrity figures. He came because Krishna attracted him, and he liked being in Krishna's temple. And that means that Krishna liked him right from the beginning. Harivamsa did not mind standing out from the crowd. He wasn't interested in Krishna because many others were. He came to Krishna even though many others around him were not. Harivamsa immediately began serving Krishna. He wasn't afraid of rolling his sleeves up and getting dirty for Krishna. He served the Lord in a way that was needed, not the services that would garner public acclaim, attention, or praise, but the services that were practical, essential, and often largely overlooked. Many of us like to be recognized for our devotional service. We like our name read out, the round of applause, and we crave the greatest honor that Bhaktivedanta Manor can award, the plaque. But not Harivamsa Prabhu. Whether others could see him or not, he served, knowing full well that Krishna, the one with perfect eyesight, was always watching. Assembling the temple room barriers, moving along devotees in the queue and assisting them, clearing up after festivals, setting up tents and tables in Trafalgar Square at London Rath Yatra, then acting as a chariot guide for the length of the procession, then cleaning out the barrels and buckets from the prasadam the following Monday. He taught the children in Sunday school at the manor, no doubt pinching a few cheeks in the process, and tested thousands of devotees' eyes, including my own. Hari could be seen many times in the car park, wearing his yellow jacket, keeping things moving, even in the rain and mud. He had a smile on his face and always seemed cheerful, although he could still make a pointed comment, even in jest. I am grateful for the times we spent together when we took prasadam in his home and talked, or at Buckland when we shared a room with 17 others. I ask for Krishna's blessings on his beautiful family. May their hearts always know peace, comfort, and joy in the knowledge that Harivamsa Prabhu, servant of the Lord, has been reunited with his master. Harivamsa Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna. My humble obeisances to all the devotees assembled here in glorification of Harivamsa Prabhu. So Harivamsa Prabhu, he was someone who embodied the mission. In fact, he always looked like he was on a mission. Despite his busy work life, it seemed that every moment he would be engaged, every moment that he could, he would be engaged in service. Even in his work life, he would always distribute prasadam to his patients, and he also liked to engage in deep discussions with me, usually while I was getting my eyes tested, on how to improve things, draw people in, and develop the community spirit. He was a community man for sure. He was extremely hospitable and had numerous devotees to his home on numerous occasions to have sangha and wonderful prasadam cooked by Krishna Purna. He would always have time to stop for a chat, whether I was working in the classroom, chanting on the landing, or wherever we would meet. He would always have time to enter into discourse about something current and something very real. He gave thousands of people Krishna vision, and he certainly supplied glasses to hundreds of devotees, as we heard, sannyasis, his own guru. He would see that this was something that he could do to serve, but he served on so many levels and in so many ways, whether it was in the temple room, car park, kitchen, meeting and greeting guests. He was another devotee who didn't see colors or designations, but just wanted to share Krishna bhakti with everyone. Harivamsa always seemed to have a smile on his face, even when he was angry, or his mouth always looked upwards in a smile. I don't know how it was, but if he was upset about something, which he did sometimes get upset, you could see it in his eyes. But mostly, he was a jolly and happy Vaishnava who loved to entertain the children. I'll never forget when he took my son Mali, only a few months old, and held him upside down. That was his idea of play. Well, my son certainly survived, and is probably all the better for being handled roughly by such a sincere devotee. We cannot voice our appreciation enough for Harivamsa Prabhu's family, who have continued his legacy and services to Bhaktivedanta Manor so devotedly. This is part of the example he set. I'll never forget the shock when Harivamsa Prabhu suddenly departed from this world, and I certainly won't forget his funeral. There were many tears of separation, but what was most memorable is that the chanting in unison of all the devotees together in love and appreciation for Harivamsa Prabhu reached such a crescendo. I remember Nadia Mani was leading the kirtan. The sunlight was streaming in, and the devotees streamed forward to pay their final respects to him. Time seemed to have stood still as we all sang our hearts out in appreciation for the life of Harivamsa Prabhu, and our voices soared high to reach and send Harivamsa Prabhu into Krishna's arms. It was incredibly moving. So I'm very, very grateful for whatever time association I had with Harivamsa Prabhu. He was truly a magnanimous and wonderful Vaishnava. Harivamsa Prabhu ki jai.
Kripamoya Prabhu, Guru Charana Padma Prabhu, thank you very much for your sweet recollections and your memories of Harivamsa Prabhu. Thank you, Hare Krishna. I'd like to now call upon Damodar Krishna Prabhu to give us his recollections. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Damodar Krishna Prabhu, are you on?
Haribol, I'm on KK. Thank you very much.
Good.
Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitaram Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
Good.
My dearmost friend Harivamsa Prabhu ki jai. Thank you for slotting me in. I've got service in the. My dear friend Harivamsa, where do I start? The starting is 1989 Janmashtami. Janmashtami in those days was not like what we know today, as Kripamaya Prabhu already mentioned. It used to be a small affair. Entrance and exit was from the circle into the temple room. The main festival site was the front lawn, and the big top was in the tennis court car park. And my wife used to run the information from an ice cream van in the circle area. We had recently got married. Harivamsa knew me but did not remember my name. Late in the evening, he came out looking for someone. He looked at me, "Oi, Mr. Rita, come and help me." That was the beginning of our friendship and our relationship. And as Kamlesh Krishna mentioned, he introduced me to a service attitude. The next milestone comes in 2004. That's when the authorities in London authorized 3 Rath carts, chariots, to go on the streets of London. And as Kripa Mahaprabhu already mentioned, we requested Harivamsa to be the chariot guide for Lord Jagannath. He did that service very, very, very nicely for all the years. And then comes the day after, Rath Yatra. We would wash up all the prasadam barrels, have our famous pastimes of messing around with some shikand. He would then invariably drench my wife with some water, a pastime that still continues today with young Vishal and Bharati. They always sprinkle water on her. And eventually, when we finish the washing up, we go for our normal customary hot drink. Harivamsa always encouraged me to get more serious in Krishna consciousness and always pushed me into getting initiated. I am eternally grateful to him for what seva or service I do today. He led me on, and soldiered me on. He always encouraged me to follow authority. I had various arguments with him. But he told me, authority comes first. They know what they are doing. They have the bigger picture. You simply do what they ask you to do. And he also instilled a very important concept in my mind. Please take proprietorship of all the services that you do. Because we are doing this seva for the mission of Srila Prabhupada, and we are serving the deities. The same message was given to me earlier on, but I never took it seriously by His Grace Dhananjaya Prabhu and Shuddhi Dharma. Then comes the year 2009. Both of us were approached by His Grace Shuddhi Dharma to set up the Manor Deity Committee. And my friend Harivamsa, today, this deity committee functions very nicely. It's made up of Srila Prabhupada disciples, senior managers, pujaris, and all decisions are taken collectively. Your temple room team has expanded. We now have a minimum of core 70 volunteers on a normal Janmashtami, and they are dedicated every year, year in, year out. Last year, during the pandemic and still ongoing, we had a service to perform. The management requested us to do a different type of service to facilitate darshan of the devotees. And we are ongoingly doing that seva. From the temple team, the core members still stay behind late at night, finish all our tasks together, and they now call me the old man, a title that was reserved for you in the early days. Most of our temple team members, the core members, have found different services within the manor, and they are taking their responsibility very, very nicely. It was the service attitude you inculcated in all of us. We all thank you very much. All glories to Harivamsa. Harivamsa Prabhu ki jai.
Damodar Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much. That was really appreciated on your recollections of your service and how you were engaged by our dear friend Harivamsa Prabhu. Now I'd like to call upon Prana Bandhu Prabhu, who has known Harivamsa from the start. So Prana Bandhu Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna. Panchakalpa Tarvyascha Kripa Sindhave Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Yes, with Harivamsa, it all began, I believe, 19 Kandil Prabhu, you have to kind of help me on this one. And I think 1982 or Krishna Purnai, 1982, it was a time when at the manor, we were really struggling. There was no heating and there was the floors were bare. And we had in the reception room a wonderful seating arrangement. And I, with my usual cold and blocked up noses, there was Harivamsa and Krishna Purna seated in that reception room. And Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening program. And so I approached him and he's saying, we just exchanged some pleasantries. And then I said, Harivamsa, Harry, we need Harivamsa, we need some help. He goes, yeah, sure, I can try and help here. Maybe sometime I'll come back next week or the week after, and we can do something. Of course, I said, where do you practice? Where's your place? She goes, oh, in well, not Finchley, but Wood Green High Street. So what happened was that myself and Shruti, that was a Sunday, and Tuesday morning, we were at Harivamsa's practice in Wood Green. And he kind of looked shocked at both of us and said, my God, you guys didn't waste any time. Because he was actually, he gave us the 108-pound bond, that this is how we were collecting for the temple. And he was one of the first ones to give Radha Gokulan that donation. So from then on, our relationship very much grew, and myself and Shruti were literally at least minimum once a week at Harivamsa's house, and to enjoy association, and of course to enjoy the fantastic meal that was guaranteed that one would get with Krishna Purna's cooking. Amongst the many wonderful qualities that devotees have spoken about, one particular quality of Harivamsa that sticks out in my mind is that his ability and his nature of taking responsibility. Whatever you ask Harivamsa to do, whatever responsible, he would take it actually very seriously, and he would make it his own. And in this way, whether it was pot washing or whether it was taking on responsibility in the temple room, he was very much a serious man when it came to the service of the Lord. Of course, Harivamsa had his funny side. We often used to call him Harry Hamster and make fun of him. But also he had this funny side whereby like Bhutara Padma said, turn kids upside down like sacks of potatoes, pinch them. He's a bit of a joker. He liked to have a laugh, and he liked to wind up people, but never in a malicious way. In all these years, me and Harivamsa and Shruti, we were great friends and almost like brothers. And I was privileged to have known such a kind-hearted and a committed soldier in Srila Prabhupada's army. And he loved what he did for the temple. He loved Krishna consciousness, and of course he had a great time. He was funny, and so I really kind of miss him. When those final days came, I also noticed that there was a great change in how Harivamsa was speaking and relating with everybody, and my heart said actually that he'd just come back from going on yatra, and he'd visited Vrindavan, Mayapur, all the holy places, and also many senior devotees he met there, Bhakti Maharaj, Radhanath Maharaj, so many devotees he met there. And one thing I was told that actually wherever he went, he asked for devotees to please bless him and forgive him, almost as if he was getting ready for some trip, or he was getting ready for something. And so I felt that in that yatra, Krishna said, "Here's an offer for you. You can come home, or you can stay here. What do you want to do?" And I felt very much so that Harivamsa had decided that he would want to go back home, and the ticket back home was this operation. The operation was conducted by one of the most well-known consultants in the UK, and I remember Sundarana telling me that this man has never lost one person on his operating table, and how simple and straightforward this heart operation, the valve operation, is going to be. But destiny is the will of the Lord, and even the topmost surgeon couldn't keep Harivamsa here for us. And indeed, it was a shock. I remember I being at the hospital day and night whilst he was there. And indeed, it was a shock and a great loss. And I truly miss him. I truly miss him. We truly miss him. And again, as a very privileged to have known Harivamsa, and a very wonderful friend, kind friend, and wonderful Vaishnava. Harivamsa Prabhu ki jai.
Pranabandha Prabhu, thank you very much for your words and your recollections. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you. I'd like now to invite Krishna Priya Prabhu to please say his recollections. Hare Krishna. Krishna Priya Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Priya Prabhu. No? We have Neela Madhava Prabhu.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Hare Krishna. Neela Prabhu, would you like to say and join us on your recollections?
May I humbly request His Holiness Atmavedanta Swami is with us, I believe.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So if Maharaj will kindly come on, that would be great. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Oh, Krishna Priya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Namam Yom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Iti Namine. Namam Yom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarne. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So many eloquent speakers say nicely about Harivamsa. No one can dispute that. He has got many attributes. He has been specially blessed by all Vaishnavas, Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami, and all other Vaishnavas. He has got a special ability and quality to welcome anyone, everyone who are engaged in Prabhupada's mission. Even opposing elements, he will invite them. He will make them friends, whether they agree or not. That's his special quality, providing shelter. And who can equally, he was really jolly, really jolly. Should I describe his pastime or no? He liked Bhaskar Bhai very much. Sweets, chocolates, you name it. I miss him. We fight, we love, but like Prana said it in the last days, he was saying, before he left for the surgery, he came incidentally to see me, to assure me that I would be all right, not realizing inevitable was to come. All of you, Guru Maharaj reminds me of scene described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Santvayam asa munibihi hatabandun chuchar pitan bhuteshu kalasya gatim darshayan na pratikriyam. We see the advancement of time acting on each of us, and we are helpless. That scene was experienced when I witnessed Harivamsa Prabhu's funeral ceremony. Athanga Sagar, everyone was coming. All Vaishnavas flooding, they were pouring in their condolences. Santwan, this is called Santwan. They are real Rishimani sent by Swami Srila Prabhupada. Harivamsa Prabhu, you are great, eternally remembered. And hope I can serve in that direction a little bit. All glories to all Vaishnava senior devotees, Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, Hare Krishna, all glories to you. We are lost too many. 10 years gone, and Shruti Rama lost. Rameshwar gone. List is endless. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Priya Prabhu, thank you very much for your kind and eloquent words. I'd like to now invite His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami to say a few words. Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Can I say something at this point? I missed out totally.
Yeah.
Let him be assured, had he been here, I would have had never chance to spend time with my granddaughter, Subhadra. He would have captured her, gone for permanently. He would have never given me that grandchild. He said it was his property. Thanking way for me. He would have loved it. He would have loved her. Would have taken her with pride. Great pride and love and affection. All love. Hope I can fill in that gap. Thank you.
I think you're filling that gap very well, judging by the artwork behind you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, are you online?
Yes, I am now online and also unmuted. Unfortunately, you have the control to mute people.
Not me.
So, can I speak now?
Please.
Thank you very
Sorry,
much. So I would like to apologize for joining a little late. It was due to the Zoom link I just received literally 5 minutes ago. So I am now online and I'm very fortunate to be with this august body of devotees and joining us today in the memorial ceremony of remembering our wonderful devotee, Harivamsa. It's been 10 years since he left us. So let me first offer my respect to all the Vaishnavas. Panchakalpatrubhascha kripa sindhu vyacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So it just seems like yesterday I was messing around with Harivamsa in the Janmashtami festivals. And it didn't seem like that it's been 10 years. But since his departure, the Janmashtamis have never been the same. Because he was the general in command of the queue system. And he did such a wonderful job to accommodate and facilitate all the wonderful devotees, guests who came to see Gokulananda. And he was, I think, one of the most important element to perform that function so nicely. Of course, now we are fortunate that by Harivamsa's own example, he trained his son very well. So Vishal Prabhu has now kind of taken over that. But I would like to go back remembering Harivamsa the first time I met him. That was in his wood green optician's practice. Some devotees told me that we have an Indian optician here. He can help you out. So I went to him, and it was the first time I met Harivamsa. And ever since, that was in 1980. Ever since then, he was looking after my eyes until his departure. So I was very, very fortunate that I had a wonderful friend and an optician who would take care of my eyes. And he appropriately changed the name of his practice to Krishna Vision, because I think it was an appropriate name which he gave to his practice. Not only was he giving material eyesights and improving people's eyesights by giving them different levels of glasses according to their eyes capacities, deterioration and whatever, but he actually gave them Krishna Vision. So whenever any people come to his place, he used to always have a pile of books, the Prabhupada books in the foyer, and big photographs of Radha Gokulananda and always prasadam. And he would encourage people to read these books while they're waiting for their eye test. At the same time, he would encourage them to invite them to come to Bhaktivedanta Manor. So I think this is a wonderful thing Harivamsa was doing. And in one sense, I thought that he did an exceedingly good job of doing his service, that Krishna was so impressed with his service that said, why you are wasting your time in this material world? Come back to me, I have better service for you. And that was our great loss. And I always feel that emptiness as we are approaching Janmashtami, because I used to hang around with him practically for a whole month during the preparation of Janmashtami festival. And then, other times on Sundays, we would sit down and have a chit chat about everything and anything under the roof. So I kind of lost a great friend in that when Harivamsa left, it kind of created a vacuum in one's life, because ever since he became more and more serious. In 1982, he was kind of ready to take Diksha and become very, very serious devotee. And of course, he did become a very serious devotee. He took up the challenge, and he was not disturbed by any politics. He was sincerely trying to serve Krishna. And due to that, I think Krishna was very much pleased with his service. And unfortunately, as I said, he left a big vacuum in my life, at least, because he was one of my friends and colleagues here at the manor. And generally, when you have some very good friends, life is very pleasant. And the life journey also becomes very pleasant. But one by one, we are losing our friends. First, we lost Harivamsa. Then just this last year, my very close friend Shuti Dharma. And I feel that Krishna is kind of shortchanging us here. They're taking all these wonderful devotees away and giving us hard time now to find good friends. Right now, you see, we're getting old, and friends are getting far and fewer. And Krishna consciousness becomes very sublime when you have very wonderful friends. And then that process of Krishna consciousness, the practice becomes very, very easy for us. So I feel very, very much saddened that he left us. But I still remember that I wasn't in the country at the time when he departed. I was in India at the time. When I came back, then I remember Hemel, he showed me the photograph of Harivamsa when he had just departed. And someone had taken a photo on the smartphone, and he showed me the photo. And I was quite amazed to see that photo, because on that photo was not just Harivamsa with his eyes closed peacefully, but he had a huge smile on his face. And that indicated to me that at the time when he was leaving his physical body, he was embracing Krishna, and that's why there was a big smile. Because when you see Krishna, naturally the smile comes to your face. So that made me feel so happy that he has made it back to Godhead. And as Prabhupada says, just focus and practice Krishna consciousness. Let Krishna do the rest. And this process of Krishna consciousness is a guaranteed process that if we stick to the process with sincerity, that at the end, when that inevitable time comes, Krishna will definitely come and embrace you. And we have that proof in many wonderful devotees who have departed us, and they were very much practicing Krishna consciousness very nicely, and success was there for them. So I feel very, very confident in the process which Prabhupada has given us, that if we sincerely stick to it, then we will reach our ultimate end successfully, as already shown to us by our great friends who have departed in the past. So on this note, I will thank Harivamsa's family, especially Krishna Purna Mataji, Vishal Prabhu, and Ujwal Prabhu, who have been also very, very close friends to me. I mess around with them a lot, and it creates happiness for me, because there is a vast, you can say, a generation gap between Vishal, Ujwal, and myself. I'm almost like their grandfather, you can say. But when I'm with them, I feel very happy that I become very youthful. So I want to thank them very much for being there. And I pray to all the Vaishnavas that today we are remembering Harivamsa. Please keep remembering him, because when we remember Vaishnavas who have departed, then that is bringing happiness to them, and also a reminder to us that we want to go and join them. On that note, I'll thank everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for your profound realizations on friendship and your relationship with Harivamsa Prabhu. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce a video that was made by His Holiness Bhakti Purushottam Swami on his relationship with Harivamsa Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, this year we are celebrating the 10th year that our dear Harivamsa Prabhu left us, went back to spiritual world. Though 10 years have passed, but still his sweet smiling face is there, very fresh in my memory. Harivamsa Prabhu was such a nice devotee, selflessly serving society and devotee community. Always ready to take responsibility and service. Before his departure, for 2 years at least, he was coming regularly to Mayapur, and he was holding eye camp also. He has become so determined to serve Mayapur. At one point, he left all the apparatus he used for eye test in Mayapur with me. That set is still somewhere in my godown, and he was expecting that every year he will come and do service for Mayapur devotees. He was an integral part of our Mayapur community, always hankering to serve devotees here. So what more I can speak? All of you know that how dedicated he was to our Bhaktivedanta Manor, serving selflessly, with a lot of devotion unto the lotus feet of Radha Gokulananda, Sitaram Lakshman and Gaur Nitai. Of course, and also he was, I have heard that all ISKCON sannyasis would go and he would take care of any eye problem or special the spectacles he would make. Every time I would go, he would give me some spectacles. And of course, Vishal Prabhu is continuing the legacy left behind by Harivamsa Prabhu. So I am very, very grateful to Harivamsa Prabhu and to his family, his good wife, his nice children. They are all like a Krishna family, Krishna conscious family. And I pray for Harivamsa Prabhu, and same time I beg his blessings also wherever he is. I'm sure he is in very Krishna conscious mood, engaged in devotional service. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me opportunity. Pranabandhu Prabhu for informing me about this special event so that I could get little opportunity to speak few words in glorification of Harivamsa Prabhu for my own purification. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for Maharaj's message. I'd now like to ask if Gauri Prabhu is online. Hare Krishna, Gauri Prabhu, are you online? No. So may I ask Neela Madhav Prabhu to say a few words for Harivamsa.
Vanchakalpatrupascha kripa sindhu bhayavacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dear Harivamsa Prabhu, please accept our obeisances, humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Guru Maharaj, and all glories to your grace. On this most auspicious day and occasion, we seek your blessings and mercy. A decade has passed since we have been bereft of your Vapu, which to us had been and continues to remain sudden and totally unexpected. Even though you did come over to meet us at the manor just before leaving us and had made it somewhat clear that you may not return from the hospital, at which point we certainly failed to take that seriously. Losing your Vapu in that sudden manner had been and still is difficult for us to accept. Life at the manor and in general in your physical presence we took for granted. And your absence had been and continues to be a challenge. For we miss you immensely. Yes, our spiritual understanding remains to be, he reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die, when thou art living still in sound. This is all good and well. However, for us conditioned souls, the realization fails to be there, and hence we continue to remain saddened at the loss of your vapu and physical association. We are indeed grateful to Sri Sri Radha Gokulananda that substantial opportunity had been given to us of your association for many, many years, but naturally still not enough. We have not experienced any Vaishnav, devotee of the Lord, who is more giving, charitable, and gracious than your grace. Certainly over the many years, you have surrendered everything to Radha Gokulananda. For you never held anything back for your own purpose or pleasure. Life at the manor after your departure had its challenges. For Sundays and festivals were never the same in your absence, and still failed to be. On Sundays, you brought so much joy, wisdom, and pleasure to all the devotees and the guests who visited the manor. And as for festivals, especially Janmashtami, such events truly experienced the pain of your absence. And we continue to experience that pain even now. Each and every Janmashtami, Diwali celebrations, you have indeed been truly remembered and missed. There have been many, many functions, festivals, events, and programs which have never been the same. For example, the Easter weekend retreats at Buckland Hall, in your absence, became never the same. For you, our Lord Buckland, and Mataji, Lady Buckland. Then there's the patron dinners. Just a small detail of you providing aromatherapy in the big marquee, and you maintained it so well. We could go on and on and on, for your service mood and attitude is simply exemplary and second to none. When our son Gauranga Das was born, you and Mataji were very, very eager to shower your blessings. You immediately took him in your arms and began swinging him. You certainly have a way with babies. When we conducted your funeral ceremony at Finchley Crematorium, this in actual fact became a festival. Even Shruti Dhamma Prabhu commented that we may never see such a large antim kriya than this. Even the car parking had to be planned and coordinated, for hundreds upon hundreds of devotees had attended, eagerly wanting to pay their tribute and respects. The entire auspicious occasion became a Maha Utsav. And I don't think we will ever see such an Utsav at Finchley Crematorium ever again. Dearest Harivamsa Prabhu, we love you dearly. We miss your vapu immensely, and we attempt whimsically to follow your Vani, your eternal servants. Hari Priya, Devi Dasi, and Neela Madhav Das. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Neela Madhav Prabhu, thank you very much for those wonderful words and message that you put across, and the love for our dear God brother. Thank you. May I ask, is Sujita Hariya online? Sujata Hariya? No? Okay. Have we Hari Chakra Prabhu online? Hare Krishna. Just had a message from Sujata. She cannot unmute. Can the IT department unmute her and put her online? Or, sorry, him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, we don't see the name on the list, on the participants. Are they logged on as with a different name?
She's saying SSH.
Aha.
With a Buddha picture. Can you kindly find her?
Yep, just looking now. Oh, just SH, yeah, okay.
Thank you. And may I respectfully ask, because we're running a little bit behind time, if everyone can just stick to their allocated 5 minutes, please. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hello, Hare Krishna. Oh, this is a surprise. I'm so Harivamsa Prabhu was actually my kaka, our kaka. I'm his eldest niece. Didn't know I was going to be saying anything, but I'm glad I've been given the opportunity. So obviously the whole family misses him. To us, he was always our Hasmu kaka. And from a really young age, he was always great fun. And I remember, in fact, I was remembering him the other day because he loved feeding, even from a very, very young age. When he used to come home from work, he'd bring home little treats and jelly babies and gum and all sorts of things. And him and Ashmita Kaki would often take us out on trips. And we have those lovely memories of the experiences that they used to take us on. One of the things I remember when I was really, really young was we were in the car one day and it was snowing, and he saw a little old Gujarati Masi standing in her sari at a bus stop, and he just pulled up beside her and said, "Masi, where are you going?" Because he hated to see her standing there in the cold alone. She was a complete stranger, and he just dropped her to wherever it was that she needed to go to. And this was my kaka, always good fun, always feeding everybody, always mischievous. And I was fortunate enough to see him in India just before he passed away. And he's one of the big reasons I ended up marrying the person that I did. He had come to India. He met, the man who's now my husband. And they only met for a couple of hours, but they had such an amazing discourse. He then asked him, "Can I stay in touch with you? We might come from different beliefs because my husband's Catholic." But he said, I really feel like you have a really good heart and I would love to stay in touch with you. So they started to stay in touch as Hasmugaka was traveling around India. And just as everybody has said, he wrote to everyone. He even wrote to me. And I said to him, "Oh, Hasmugaka," I said, "you're such a drama queen." I said, "Look at you making a big fuss about going into hospital." I said, "Just because you want Ashmita Kaki to come and feed you loads and loads of good food." I actually found that email the other day and I said to my husband, "Oh my God, I just took the whole thing so frivolously and jokingly, not knowing that that would be the last exchange that we'd ever have." And I flew back to England during his funeral. And as the speakers have just said, never been to a funeral like that in my life. Over 1,000 devotees. I think it was being televised outside. And it was at that moment, I'd been umming and ahhing about whether I should marry this man or not. And it was at that moment when I was listening to people talking about his life and how he always made decisions very quickly. He didn't waste time. If he set his mind on something, he'd do it. And they were talking about when he had set his eyes on Ashmadakaki at university, and I think he'd sort of decided she's going to be my wife. And I thought, if he can be so decisive, what am I wasting time for here? He's met my husband, he's already given his approval, he already said he's lovely, he's got a great heart. So it was there and then at the funeral that I was like, thank you, Hassan Kaka, you've given me like the sign that I needed. And as a result of my Kaka, I did end up marrying Stan. So we think of Hassan Kaka often, just like everyone else, we miss him. And we're very, very honored that he came into this family and blessed everyone with his presence, with his cheekiness, with his smile, with his sense of humor, and with his good advice as well that he used to give. He used to give very good advice to all of us as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that wonderful message of your wonderful uncle and our wonderful brother. Next, I'd like to invite His Grace Sutapa Prabhu to say a few words. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for the opportunity to share something. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. His Grace Harivamsa Prabhu ki jai. As we heard here today, Harivamsa Prabhu would often serve all the senior devotees, the VIPs, the sannyasis who would come. And once I took Kadamba Maharaj to go and see him, obviously about the eyes. And we had a wonderful time with Harivamsa Prabhu. There was lots of jokes and lots of banter. And then we came out of the door. And as we were leaving, Kadamba Maharaj, he looked at me and he said, Harivamsa is a real Vaishnav. And he said, he's a real Vaishnav because he only wants to serve. And then Maharaj said to me, you should learn from your life. In your life, you should learn how to serve by looking at his life example. And so for me, many have said that, but Harivamsa Prabhu was just like such a servant, ready to do whatever anyone wanted. Normally when you phone people and you need to ask them to do something, you need to like warm up the conversation, crack a few jokes, lighten the atmosphere and then ask what you want. But with Harivamsa Prabhu, it's never like that. You called him and he was ready. He was like, tell me what you want me to do. He was, of course, we know Harivamsa Prabhu was very straightforward. There was no frills attached. He spoke his mind and you felt like you could speak your mind with him. And it was very beautiful to have a person like that who you could just be so open with. Harivamsa Prabhu often, he would be with the brahmacharis a lot. I remember when we had our first brahmachari retreat, we went to Bucklands, then Harivamsa Prabhu came with us. And of course, no one had organized anything properly. And Harivamsa, by the end of the retreat, was basically managing the whole thing and serving all the devotees. And I remember we used to joke with him. We were quite immature at that time. Maybe we still are. But we were joking with him that, okay, Harivamsa Prabhu, it's time, your time's coming. Vanapras, you got to renounce. So we would joke with him like this. And then he would say, no, you're not preaching to me enough. You have to preach to me more. And then he would say, what will I do? I can't give classes. I can't do any of these things. I can just serve, And then as years went by, we realized he was more than any of that because he just loved to serve, which is the essence of Vaishnavism. One other thing with Harivamsa Prabhu that I saw is that for him, like the whole world was his family. He never made any boundaries like that. His home was an open home. I remember even, if I'm not mistaken, one evening on a Sunday evening, someone was locked into the manor, couldn't get back home or something. Harivamsa Prabhu didn't even know this person, and he just said, it's okay, just stay at my house tonight. You're not going to be able to get home now. And he was that kind of person who would just like let a stranger stay in his home. because for him, the whole world was his family. He never made boundaries like that. He was just ready to embrace anyone, very open-hearted, very, very kind, very genuine. And I'll just say one last thing. Oftentimes, I remember Harivamsa Prabhu last thing at night before I go to bed. And the reason for that is this. When we were refurbishing the Brahmachari ashram, I got maybe 15 years ago, then he was coming and he was inspecting all the plans, you know, like he would want to be part of the organization or everything. So he was inspecting it. And then he said, I want that there should be a night light in every single room. Before that, I had never heard of the concept of a night light. It's like a 1-watt bulb that, you know. So I started having an argument with him. I said, Harivamsa Prabhu, no one's going to use this. They're going to break it. It's just going to be another headache. We're not having this. It's not worth it. And he was insistent. No, there's sometimes 10 devotees sleeping in a room. They all come in at different times. You need a night light because then the Vaishnavas will get proper rest. And so I argued, and as we know, Harivamsa Prabhu, I mean, you can't, he's transcendentally stubborn, you know, you just have to surrender. So finally, we put that night light in, and I have to humbly admit, it was one of the best inventions ever, one of the best introductions into the Brahmachari ashram. And nowadays, we have a good night's sleep, largely due to that night light. And probably tonight, when I turn that night light on, I'll remember Harivamsa Prabhu, who not only did an incredible quantity of service, but did it with such quality, did it with such a heart, did it because he really cared. And those Vaishnavas are unique. And so I pray that the spirit of Harivamsa Prabhu will continue on. It is continuing on through Krishna Purna Mataji, through the whole family. That spirit of service, which is the heartbeat of Bhaktivedanta Manor, and devotees like Harivamsa Prabhu brought that. And I pray that I can somehow follow in his footsteps and have that mood. He was definitely a real Vaishnava. Harivamsa Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhu, thank you very much for that wonderful message and your recollection of your association with Harivamsa Prabhu. I'd like to call next Nitin and Kaushika. Are they online? Hare Krishna. Nitin and Kaushika? No? All right. Dilip Patel. Hare Krishna, Dilip Prabhu. Are you online?
Hare Krishna. I think Kaushika Mistry said they are online.
I've just seen it. Would you like to go first, and then Kaushika and Nitin can go next?
Thank you, Prabhu. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubevacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. It only seems a few years ago when we spoke on the day of your operation. I was chanting in the morning. You called me around 7 a.m. I can't remember our exact conversation, but you wanted to say something to me, but I stopped you each time, as what you were saying was negative, and maybe your fear of the procedure. I remember saying, don't worry, it's a very minor procedure. They do this all the time. You'll be back home tomorrow, and I'll be around to see you. My friend, that didn't happen. We never met, and I didn't even listen to you. Forgive me. We're all missing you, especially at festival times. You'd always come around before they went with your spray bottle on your shoulder and go around the whole festival site, making sure all flammable props have been treated with the fire retardant spray. Then you'd come around again just before the start of the event, this time with the nice aroma spray, and make sure all the areas are welcoming and smelling fresh. You were very proactive and protective of your area and your team. You didn't like changes. Quite stubborn, I would say. It must have taken me 3 Janmashmis to change the queuing system in small tips each time. But that was one area I didn't have to worry about. You and your team would take care of everything. You train them well. They do it now. I'm missing our debrief sessions me and you would have while the Petram program was going on. I would be upset on things not going to plan, but you were there, the calming influence. On our patron tips together, still very memorable. You were always up for Mangala Aarti with Shruti Prabhu, setting the standards for us to follow. When we went to South India and visited some temples, you somehow got talked into showing your hand to a priest there. And you ended up giving bananas for a year. We all made fun of you for the rest of the trip in the bus. You were not happy with some of us, no names mentioned. You'd always check my glasses, adjusting my frames, making sure I come for my regular checkups, and the annual visits at work to make sure all staff, workstations and visions were as per regulations. It'd always be there and issue the paperwork. You'll be pleased to know Bharti has taken that baton on, and Vishal's looking after my eyes. Thank you. You were instrumental in bringing a lot of new people to Krishna consciousness. Both you and Krishna Puna have given all your time to serving others, visiting our homes, instructing and encouraging us in our sadhana. You are always there to help. Your example of living in the Grihastha ashram is one I'm still trying to follow. I'm slowly getting there. I hope I make it. Thank you for everything that you've taught us. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Harivamsa Prabhu ki jai, Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhu, thank you very much for that wonderful rendition of your memories and realizations with Harivamsa Prabhu. What I'd like to do now is to move to the temple room for a short kirtan. And then after that, we can resume with the messages, realizations, and sharing of experiences with the rest of the devotees. Thank you.
Jai Anilo Premadana Karuna Pracho Jai Anilo Premadana Karuna
Thank you very much. That was a wonderful kirtan, and the Jai Nilo Bhajan was so sweet. Thank you. I would like to now invite Kaushika, who's been very patiently waiting for her slot. So if you're please online, please come on.
Hare Krishna, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhu bhaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So thank you very much for allowing us to speak a few words about Harivamsa Prabhu. So Harivamsa Prabhu and Krishna Purna Mataji themselves have touched our hearts in so many ways. They've been with us from the very start of our Krishna conscious journey.
Harivamsa Prabhu was the first person we met when we first came to Manor. He always made it a point to come and talk to us every day. And I remember my first Janmashtami in 1995, before the road was built. We came to Janmashtami and he jumped out of the temple room window and invited us to have prasadam with him. Harivamsa was always happy to see us and answer our questions. And in fact, Krishna Purna Mataji and himself were always there for us through the good times and the bad, always supporting and helping us. Nothing was ever a problem and no favor was ever too big for us.
So we have one particular incident with our eldest daughter, Monica. When she was 1 year old, we went to Buckland Hall along with 30 other families over Christmas. And Harivamsa Prabhu himself volunteered the whole Sangha group to look after our daughter. And so we could go to see a movie. Well, that evening, Monica lost her first tooth. And he insisted on being a tooth fairy. Needless to say, all the other family followed his example. And she was the richest girl ever. These Christmas gatherings and retreats at Bucklands were such a special occasion for us. And our children also cherish them very much.
We love making new dishes, and Harivamsa Prabhu and Krishna Purna Mataji would often come with the other devotees to our house. And we used to make them guinea pigs for these dishes that we'd cook for the first time. They took it completely in their stride, and whenever the other devotees would start to eat, it was like, no, stop. You've got to know how to eat this, because these guys make new things every single time. And this became such a tradition that the one time we didn't make new dish, it was such a shock for them. They were quite taken aback. And it was like, okay, guys, is everything okay? What's happened? There's no new dishes. Okay. It was very, very fun times. And of course, after prasadam, they were so comfortable, it was time for a nap.
So Harivamsa Prabhu is actually, for us, a very kind, loving, and generous person. He loved making fun, having fun with the kids, especially trying to get them to cry. However, with our Anjuli, he was defeated. Instead of making her cry, she was always crying, but she made him cry because she wouldn't let him sit down at all by crying all the time. And so in the end, he had to give her back to us.
Harivamsa Prabhu was always doing service and getting other people engaged. For us, he got us engaged in the temple room service, and he was always talking about us as an example of how we can serve even with children by sharing responsibilities. He got us involved in Radha Yatra, and when we finished teaching at Krishna Club, he got us engaged in a hospitality service after the ladies' ashram had finished. So we do remember him a lot for that.
So we just wanted to say that he's always been a great source of inspiration to us and a fantastic role model. We will miss him a lot, but he will always be within our hearts.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Harivamsa Prabhu ki jai.
Nitin Prabhu, Kaushika Prabhu, thank you. Thank you very much for those wonderful words. I'd now like to invite from one Kaushika to Kaushik Patel, KC, as he's fondly known. So, KC, are you online?
Yes, Kamlesh, I am. Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you for giving me a few minutes to share my memories of Harivamsa. I met Harivamsa, I met Hashmukh and a young lady named Ashmita in 1975. I had just enrolled as a undergraduate pharmacy student at Bradford University. Hashmukh and Ashmita were finishing their final years at Bradford. Later on, I am to meet them again at Bhaktivedanta Manor as Harivamsa Prabhu and Krishna Puna Mataji. I have so many memories with Harivamsa going back so many years. He used to be with us at as trustee of a patron council. I remember the days, Akhanda Prabhu was there, so when we used to protest outside our front gate when the temple was going to be closed. And I remember Harivamsa bringing hot teas and snacks for all of us who were outside the gate for hours and hours. Selfishly, to have known Harivamsa was that he gave me undeserved association of sannyasis who would come to their house. So Harivamsa and Krishna Puna would invite us for dinners there, and it was so wonderful because of his kindness that we got to have association of all the sannyasis and VIPs who used to come to the manor. One thing which we don't appreciate or don't know about Harivamsa and Krishna Puna is over the years they've made so many devotees, they've introduced so many people to Krishna consciousness. We had association of Shruti, Prana, but every week I would meet Harivamsa. The first question would be, how is your chanting going? Are you reading? Also in those days, Shruti and Prana would ask us to, me, Dilip, and the family to go book distribution, house to house in the evening. And I would talk to Harivamsa and say, Harivamsa, this is not, this is not easy. You can't do this. And him and Krishna Puna would always encourage us and say, look, this is not difficult. You just have to be humble and do this service. We used to have patron dinners in the Prashadam room. From start to finish, he would be there. And in the evening, after everything was finished, he would be there cleaning up, washing the pots, washing the dishes. It was wonderful. Janmashtami, like Akantani Prabhu was saying that earlier on, that we used to work like a month ahead to prepare, and there's only a few of us. And he introduced this idea of having us having prashadam in the evening, and Krishna Puna would cook. There's only a few of us, but those memories are embedded in me. I'll never ever forget those days. And then now that has become a rule. Now we have like 500-600 people doing evening prashadam, but in those days there was like handful, 5-10. his love for the children was amazing. It's like the young boys, Ujjwal, Vishal, he would always bring them at Janmashtami time, helping us in the fields. And now I can see, that what the boys have imbibed of Dad's values and carrying on his legacy. I mean, recently I was reading in Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, I think chapter 11, there was some verses. Narad Muni was describing 30 qualities of a human being. He was describing this to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And when I look at those qualities, I think, for Harivamsa, all those qualities were natural. Non-violence, celibacy, charity, reading scripture, simplicity, satisfaction. Harivamsa was a legend in my eyes. I mean, despite my shortcomings, I was fortunate to have associations of all those great Vaishnavas in that time. In conclusion, I would say that I hope and pray that Ujjwal, Ushma, Vishal, Bharti, Krishna Puna, and the future generations will remember Harivamsa and continue his legacy. Harivamsa Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Casey, thank you very much for those sweet recollections and spotlighting Harivamsa's wonderful service attitude and the way that he brought devotees to devotional life. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Next, I'd like to call upon Nilesh Patel. Nilesh, are you online?
I am.
Please.
Jai Shri Krishna to everybody. And good evening. Thank you for allowing me to say a few words on behalf of the Patel family on this memorial service. To be precise, these are not just my words, but the collective thoughts and memories of my brothers and sisters, including Ashmita, whom most of you would know as Krishna Puna. To us, he was not just Harivamsa, he was first and foremost our brother-in-law, Hashmukh. I'm not going to dwell on his later life, which most of you know very well, but we'll share some memories of him from the very beginning and how we got to know him and how he came into our lives. The story began a long, long time ago, in the days when saying groovy was still allowed, when we still wore trousers and jeans which looked like little tents around our feet, which were in turn clad in towering platforms. And to these, and no, these were not just the ladies wearing them, but men wearing them, right? So one day, Ashmita left our home in Wembley. A teenager to study pharmacy in Bradford, and a few years later returned with a blow, wearing bell-bottoms and a luxuriant beard. And there we were thinking, what is going on? Believe me, not having the internet, not having any social media or to share photos or stories, not having Facebook, Insta, or any other media to warn us that there was going on, it was a shock to all of us that our sister was not returning as some teenager, but coming home as a grown woman. What I remember the most was his megawatt smile and the mischievous glint in his eyes. More of that later. There was this young person in front of us, confident, articulate, handsome, and not someone from our family. And he made our sister happy. And to be honest, nothing else really mattered. Remembering that this was still the 70s, it was still very much a taboo to marry outside of our society. Sorry, I'm reading and I'm not, you can't see me properly, sorry. To marry somebody outside society, let alone thinking of having a love marriage. and marrying somebody outside of the Patel clan. But to their credit, our parents never once mentioned this background and accepted Hashmukh as one of our own. So began our journey with Hashmukh and Ashmita, first sweeping our much loved sister off her feet, then being a father to two wonderful children, and in subsequent years being the rock to our family. When we lost our father in the early 80s, he was there. And he was there through the many trials and tribulations in our years ahead. As first Daksha, then myself, and Ketan and Rohit getting married, Hashmukh was always there. The fatherly figure we came to rely on. He was kind, supportive, generous with his time, patient, funny, ready to provide guidance and advice, and always had this mysterious nature, not far from the surface. He was more than just our Benevi. As such, I asked my brothers and sisters, including Ashmita, to write some thoughts and memories they would like to convey to the audience today. Without attributing anything to any one person, I'll compile the following. He was caring, never hesitated to help others. He had developed a great interest in alternative medicines, especially aromatherapy, learning about the different treatments, concocting potions and lotions for our skin conditions, malaria treatment, and others various ailments. He was always welcoming to us in his home. And when Dad and I would often go there for dinner, he was not shy in asking me for help when he needed somebody to help with the heavy lifting on his multiple commitments, whether at the temple or the home or the garden. Harivamsa will always be remembered by me as Hashmukh. That cheeky smile always hid something mischievous. To him, time was never in short supply for anybody, whether dear to his heart or a complete stranger. Meet him once and you will never forget him. Naughty but nice, always showed respect for others, regardless of the standing in society. He was always smiling, never saw an angry side, and was inherently always calm and peaceful. While asking to go for a ride in our new car, he asked me, who was lucky, me or him, in respect of who we married. And I looked at him and said, thank your lucky star that you did not marry the elder one. And we both laughed. Fortunately, he may no longer be with us, but he lives through all of us and all of our memories, especially Vishal, who is just as cheeky as Hashmukh. And from what I understand, Subhadra is very much just like him. Anyway, thank you.
Nilesh, thank you very much for sharing your affectionate thoughts with your dear brother-in-law. We're very grateful. Thank you, Hare Krishna. I'd now like to call upon a very dear god sister of ours, Krishangi Devi Dasi, who is the wife of our dear god brother, Rameshwar Prabhu. So Krishangi, are you online? Hare Krishna.
Yes, I am. Yes.
Thank you. Are you there, Krishangi?
Yes, I am here.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shall I start now?
Yeah, please. Can you adjust your camera? We can just about see you.
Can you see me now?
And there's a light above you, so that's fine.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll move. Is that better?
Yeah, that's fine.
Hare Krishna, everyone. I'll start straight away. I don't want to waste time because we are running late as it is.
Take your time. Take your time.
You sure, yeah?
Yes, please.
We first met Harivamsa in April 1985. I took my mother-in-law, who was living with us, for an eye checkup. Following Sunday, we went to the temple. We used to go to temples every Sunday for darshan. He saw us there and he invited us to a program at his house. I remember Prana was there and he gave a class in Gujarati. I think that's the first time and last time I heard him speaking Gujarati. Guru Maharaj wrote to Krishna Pura. Harivamsa had a great service attitude. He got us straight away involved in various services at the temple. He got Rameshwar to Prana got Rameshwar involved in raising funds for the kitchen, which needed renovating at that time. Then, because Rameshwar is an accountant, they told us to take charge of the donation team and look after it during all the festival periods. Harivamsa was very affectionate by nature and always had a smile on his face. He was so friendly that he left a lasting impression on everyone. My daughter Veena still remembers him. He was very good with children as well. She worked at his practice one summer while at school for a work experience. My son Bimal always also remembers me very nicely, but he always makes a joke that every time he went for an eye checkup, he would make us sit 3 or 4 hours there because he would take other patients who came in first, giving priority. He would tell us, it's okay, you can sit there while I check these people. So he still remembers that. But the highlight of everything was his funeral. When I told Bimal that it is 10 years since Harivamsa left, he couldn't believe it. He says, I can still remember his funeral. He told me he remembered the funeral ceremony so well. So many people turned up that we had to have volunteers to make queue, to manage the queue to get his darshan. That showed how popular and how much everyone liked him. He was loved by people so much that whoever came in contact with him wanted to see him, and he was such a great loss to everyone. As my Guru Maharaj said, he was surely must have gone back to Godhead. With his service attitude, with his love for everyone, and his perpetual smile and friendliness to everyone. I feel honored that he was the one who brought me and Rameshwar into Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishnangi. Thank you so much for that wonderful, as I see it, an offering to our dear God brother, Harivamsa Prabhu. Thank you. I'd like to now invite another God brother, Vinod Krishna Prabhu. Are you there? Hare Krishna. Vinod Krishna Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, yes.
Over to you.
Namo Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharine, Nivashesha Shunyavadi Pashtadharine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadha, Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So first of all, I'd like to begin by thanking Bhaktivedanta Manor for very particularly organizing this program today, and also the School of Bhakti, and all of you who've joined us today. And, 10 years have gone, and it doesn't feel like 10 years. I've had very good fortune to know Harivamsa in so many different ways. He was not just a friend, but also a guardian. I was fortunate enough to stay with him for a number of years back in the late 80s, early 90s. And the name of the road that we used to live on was called Hardwick Road. And gradually became to be known as Hard Time Clinic. Those who were there in the early days will realize what it meant by a hard time clinic. Because if anyone can give you a hard time, it was Harivamsa. For missing something or missing to do some service or anything, then he could make sure that he would really give you some of his prasad. But as I said, I was fortunate enough to know both sides of him. But his kindness was unparalleled. In our lives, as Akhandari Prabhu explained, a lot of all the other senior Vaishnava devotees have already explained a lot about Harivamsa Prabhu. But I'd just like to touch on a couple of other points that, in our lives, we also come across many people, many devotees. Some people touch our lives. Some people help us. Some people we give help to. But Harivamsa was a person that could actually see through you. You wouldn't need to ask him that you needed help. He would do the thing that was needed even before you could ask him. So this is one of his characters, that to help others was actually his life. I remember a number of times there are people that we'd never met before would be at home taking prasad. He'd just invite them. And this is his way of preaching. Krishna Puna would find out an hour before they were going to get home that, I'm bringing this person, this is how many of us are going to be there. We're all going to take prasad. As Kaushik Prabhu also touched that, and Jayadvaita Maharaj explained that he was the optician for all the devotees. And in the early days, we were probably the most fortunate that we got association and to serve every sannyasi that wore glasses and that came to the manor. And it would be followed by a feast cooked by Krishna Puna. And everyone who came really enjoyed that feast. And to this day, we can remember that there was very handful of congregation members at that time. And Harivamsa was one of the first persons to take up this service, as Akhandari Prabhu explained, of doing Namahatas. Now, in the early days, there's 4 or 5 families that the devotees could go for prasad. As the BMF boys found out, where to actually go, they inquired, where does Pranam Bandhu Prabhu and Shuddhidhamma Prabhu go for the prasad, They always seem very happy, very content, and never complain about eating. So they realized that, Harivamsa's place was where everybody came. So this became one of the stopover place where if anybody wanted a feast, they would come there. Harivamsa was very cheeky, but at the same time, very serious. When it came to taking on Prabhupada's movement, he would really take it very, very seriously. Harivamsa and Krishna Puna were the very early devotees that actually went out as like Prana Bandhu Prabhu and Shuddhidhamma Prabhu in the evenings to actually cultivate the congregation. And I remember I was left babysitting with Ujjwal and Vishal, and to keep them entertained, the TVs weren't allowed in them days, but somehow or the other, I'd persuade Harivamsa to keep them busy and put them to sleep on time, and we'd watch some video, and when they came back in the evening, the kids would still be awake, and he'd tell me off next morning for doing that. But as I said, that he was a person that could actually see through you. You did not need to ask him that you need to be helped. And his help, but in my life, doing the morning program, which Harivamsa and Krishna Puna did every single day in the morning, from offering aarti to Nashinga prayers to having a little class. I really miss these days where we would all get together in the morning and make our start in a very spiritual way. And Harivamsa was a person that really not just did something for the sake of it, but he did it because he was the great ambassador for Bhaktivedanta Manor. And the number of people that he's brought to Krishna consciousness, him and Krishna Purna, it's the congregation has grown through them. And really, in my personal life, I owe a lot to Harivamsa and Krishna Purna. So on this day, I seek for his forgiveness at the same time that I feel very fortunate that he was part of my life. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much for your kind recollections and your reflections. Thank you. I'd now like to call on Kajol Patel. Kajol, are you online? Hare Krishna. Kajol? Perhaps Kajol isn't there. Shakti Rupa Devidasi. Shakti
Hare
Rupa.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Over to you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about Harivamsa Prabhu. Although I am very insignificant again this old senior Vaishnava. Oh, what to say about Harivamsa? His original name was Hasmukh, and that was his nature. He always had a smile on his face and always joked around with everyone. He was a very lively person. He would take part in many activities, and he also balanced his life very much, very nicely. One summer, all the adults and children went paintballing. It was such a fun day, and he was making sure everyone was bruised, but was also having fun. One of his favorite snacks was popcorn. And every time we would go to cinema, he'd make sure there was popcorn for everyone. Whenever we would visit his home, he would put ice on our back. Such was his playful nature. He and Krishna Purna also introduced me to Guru Maharaj and allowed me serve over the years. My biggest memory was his kindness and generosity was when Hemal was alone in this country. Harivamsa Prabhu took care of him, just like his own sons and family. He would take Hemal to all his family gathering and also to his beloved Buckland, and he treated us like his own family. He was also a good teacher. He always encouraged us for devotional service. He was very particular about tilak. He also started the Sunday tilak team. He also taught life skill. For example, one occasion, he took Hemal, Harsh, and Ujjwal to clean a filthy backyard of a new business he had bought and paid all three of them some money to teach them the value of money. One of his favorite pastime was go to Lidl and bulk buy the latest best deals. For example, he bought the whole Sunday car park team winter boots and socks, which my boys are still using. My last conversation with him, which I never forget, was he called me when I was in Kenya, saying he was going for surgery and don't know how if we will meet again, and told me, take care of your friend, Krishna Purna. I told him, Krishna will look after you and not make silly jokes, but Krishna had other plans for him. Even on his departure, he was peaceful and had a relaxed smile on his face. This was Hasmukh. We constantly miss his association. I am sure he is smiling down on us, waiting to play a joke with us again. He was a great devotee. Thank you very much. Harivamsa Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Sakshi Rupa, thank you very much for that heartfelt message and your realizations and sharing your thoughts on Harivamsa Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Now we have a video by Kajol Patel. She doesn't feel that she can speak openly or online. So we have a video from her.
Hare Krishna, everyone. My name's Kajol. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. So the first time I met Harivamsa wasn't actually through the temple. I was 15 at the time, and my school had randomly allocated me to an optician's practice in Friar Barnet. Before starting the work experience, I was advised to go and meet the optician. So on a Saturday afternoon, I paid a trip down to Friar Barnet. And much to my surprise, when I entered the reception, there was a man standing there who I remember who had a very cheeky smile. And I thought to myself, he can't be the optician. He was dressed in linens, had a pair of Toms on, and he had a ponytail. But he was the optician. So what I thought was going to be an informal chat very quickly turned into a formal interview. Harivamsa had me propped up on one of the examination chairs as he sat across the room on the wheelie chair and asked me questions about what my favourite subjects at school were. And then he said, well, on Mondays, we clean. Mondays are our cleaning days. So are you prepared to vacuum and clean the toilets? At this point, I really didn't know what to say. And I quite kind of quickly just went, yeah, okay. And he said, great. And then he said, well, you know, if you do start coming here for work experience, you're not going to be, you know, required to bring your own food, and you won't be going out for lunch. We'll be bringing your lunch in for you. At this point, I was quite nervous and I didn't know what I was letting myself into. So I remember going home and saying to my mum that there was no way that I wanted to go to this practice for work experience. My mum asked me why. And I said, Mum, he's a crazy Hare Krishna who wants me to clean the toilets and wants to bring me lunch. And my mum kind of just laughed it off, and like every Indian mum, she said, oh, it's a sign from Bhagavan, he's a Hare Krishna, you should go. And I guess the rest was history, right? So I did work experience there, and I had like the best 2 weeks of my life. I had so much fun with him. We ate chocolate together, ate loads of those Costco jelly beans together. And I was fortunate enough to experience the amazing prasad cooked by Krishna Purna. I think after then, Harivamsa kind of really encouraged me to come to the temple. I remember he gave me my first set of beads as well. So after coming to the temple, he introduced me to the infamous temple room team, and very quickly they became my family. Harivamsa was one of those people who always had time for everyone. You know, he'd always stop and talk to people in the corridor, no matter what age you were or who you were. As part of the team, you know, he made sure that the girls were treated equally to the boys, and actually he probably had a softer spot for the girls, and he made sure that he went above and beyond to make sure that we were okay. For me and many others who have come to the temple kind of, you know, without their families, Harivamsa played like a really important role. For me personally, Harivamsa was like a father at the temple. He always guided me like spiritually, always encouraged me to read and to serve. From a service perspective, I'm sure many people know and have many experiences, but Harivamsa really led by example. He was never one to kind of tell you to do something and not do something himself. He was always the first to roll up his sleeves and take on any task, no matter how small or how big. And working with him and serving with him was always so uplifting. I think now, you know, when we're at festivals and every Janmashtami, you know, I always think of Harivamsa and I actually really miss him. And I stand in front of their lordships as I'm telling people to hurry up and be quick while they're taking darshan. And I genuinely pray that I hope that, you know, I'm doing him proud and that I can serve even with a fraction of humility that he served with and the sincerity that he served with. Personally, for me, you know, I feel like I'm so fortunate to have met such a special soul like Harivamsa and have been given the opportunity to serve with him. All glory to Harivamsa Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Kajol, thank you very much for that wonderful insight into Harivamsa and your introduction to spiritual life. So thank you very much. Now I'd like to finally call on one of Harivamsa's friends, Mahendra, who's in the States. And he stated that he wanted to have a quick 5 minutes. So we've got two more devotees now, Mahendra and one other devotee. Mahendra, are you online? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mahendra. Are you there?
Yes, he's here.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Hare Krishna. Nice to see you.
Hare Krishna. I'm calling from Los Angeles.
Well,
And
you know, everyone has a burden to bear.
yeah, yes. So I've known Hasmukh and Ashmita since we met at the university, which is going back to his becoming a Krishna devotee. So when we got to the university, we were 1972. And we were staying in our halls of residence. That was all self-catering. So there was Hasmukh, there was myself, and then another friend, Gurdeep. I know he's online here, so he's probably listening. And so we became a team, and we used to cook together, stay on the same floor. And we also met Ashmita, aka Krishnapurna right now. And I can't remember if she was a year behind, but anyway, we had lots of fun. We made lots of friends, and you know, the 4 years went by so quickly. We, you know, forged our own different paths, but at the same time, we kept in touch. We very much, what can I say? We very much wanted to stay in England, but at the same time, I had opportunity where I decided to move to United States, and we still kept in touch. I remember Hasmukh coming over to see us with Ashmita. I think it was in the first 5 years that we were here, and it might be 1992 or 91 approximately. And we went to the Hare Krishna temple here in Culver City. I remember taking him to San Diego also. We made a day trip, or I can't remember for sure. Yeah, day trip. So we had, so our association has continued, but I just want to go back and, you know, go back to our university halls where, you know, we didn't really like the outside cooking or the way the English food was. So my mom used to make a paste, masala paste. So we would use that and cook using that paste. So we never missed the home cooked food. And that was a weekend affair. So we would cook at the weekends, have some more friends come in, and have a little party. And I also very vividly remember when Hasmukh started dating Ashmita and decided to get married. So it was a challenge, you know, like Nilesh Pai said earlier. We're going back, 40 years or more, and cultural differences. So Gurdeep and we were given the task of meeting the family and letting them know it is okay. And it just panned out that their marriage was consummated there. And we all, after we got married, you know, one by one, we had our children. And it's funny, this is really something very special between the three friends. Each one of us have 3 boys, 3 children, 3 boys. So
I think when the kids were younger, we used to get together and take pictures, and we do have those photographs. But back in '86, we moved here and lost that connection, seeing the kids grow up. But we kept in touch and we met everybody once or twice when we came to UK. So it was good seeing everybody.
I still remember, we don't make as much contact as possible. But I very many times I would remember him. And even after we finished school or graduated, no other person other than Hasmukh took care of our eyes. So we both wear glasses. So while we were in England, right there on High Street, right above, I can't remember if it was above McDonald's there, but that's where we went to have our eyes checked. Until
And Hasmukh would just choose our frame and said, okay, this is what you're gonna wear. And it was a lot of fun. Going there, taking care of our eyes and getting new frames and lenses.
So once we were in his care, he would check our eyes and he would actually choose the frame. I didn't have a choice.
So, Mahendra Bhai, thank you very much for those.
Thank you for the opportunity to say a few words.
And sharing your memories about Hasmukh Harivamsa Prabhu. So thank you very much. And we hope to see you in England the next time that you come. Now, I think, there are quite a few other devotees that wanted to speak this evening, but time has, I'm afraid, overtaken us. So we haven't been able to enable everyone to speak and give their thoughts, their love, etc. about Harivamsa Prabhu. But we do have the link, the eulogy link. So if everyone could kindly go onto that eulogy link and put their eulogies on there online, that address has already been shared on the chat. So if you can kindly have a look. And finally, before I sign off, or before we sign off this evening, Vishal would like to say a few words. But before that, I'd like to say thank you very much from me to all the devotees present this evening and also all the devotees that took part, because it really brought home the love, the memory, and the affection that we hold my dear brother, my friend, in our hearts. So thank you very much. And also, I would like to end, Neela Prabhu read a bit of it, but I'd like to end with one verse of a quote that Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur had written. And this was quoted so many times by our dear Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Chiruswami Maharaj. So I'd like to end from my side on just reading that one verse. It says, he reasons ill who says that Vaishnavas die. When thou art living still in sound, the Vaishnavas die to live and live trying to spread the holy life around. This was my dear friend all over, and this is what he did, and this is what he lived for and still does. So thank you very much. And I'd like to hand over to Vishal.
Not great at this public speaking, but I'd just like to say thank you from on behalf of the family for everyone that attended today and took their time out. But a special thanks for the team at the School of Bhakti. They're the ones who are running this program today. Special thanks also to the Patrons Council, Neela Madhava and Vaishnav Prabhu. They're the ones who organized this. Special thank you to Kamlesh Krishna Prabhu as well for emceeing today, and also for Jayadvaita Swami, Bhakti Purushottam Swami, and Bhaktivedanta Swami for speaking such lovely words. Also to Kripamoya Das, Mother Guru, and Kandaji Prabhu. Thank you. For also speaking such nice words. And to the rest of the family and friends who spoke such loving words about my dad. and also to the brahmacharis for that amazing kirtan. And to everyone again, as we said, just thank you for attending. It's meant a lot. Means a lot to the family. Means a lot to my mom. And thank you, and Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone, and I wish you a very pleasant evening. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Bye, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Harivamsa.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Uji, where's Uddhava?
He's gone to sleep.
He said it's
Hare
time.
Krishna.
Time for my bedtime.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I guess me neither. Chalo.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Go.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Go. You guys okay?
No.
Where's Subi?
Probably in bed as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. 8
All
o'clock.
the juniors.
School day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
Everyone, and good night.
Yeah, check my lucky.